Howdy gamers! Before I start off today's video, I'd like to thank Blue Drawing for making these character stills. She really put a lot of time and effort into these. Also, I'd like to thank Shelterine for this video's amazing thumbnail art. Blue and Shelty both did very good jobs, thank you. Anyways, let's just jump into it. Growing up, James Bond was one of my most favourite franchises. I loved the movies even though I don't remember much about them since I watched them when I was so young. And Pierce Brosnan's movies were my absolute favourite. That's mostly because that's who I grew up with, but also because I loved the absolute absurdity of his films. It was a shame to me that he only starred in 4 movies. Though there was this one thing released in early 2004. A video game published by EA and developed by EA Redwood Shores, now known as Visceral Games, the guys behind Dead Space. This game, by the title of Everything or Nothing, had one of my most favourite, most bullshit Bond stories of all time. Everything or Nothing was released on the GameCube, Xbox and PlayStation 2, and ran on the ID Tech 3 engine. There's also a Game Boy Advanced version released a few months earlier in 2003 by the developers Kryptonite Games, which featured very different gameplay to the other version that was released and wasn't very well received. But this video isn't about that game now, is it? Unlike most of the other previous games, the actual actors from the Brosnan era Bond films are there. Judi Dench, Pierce Brosnan, John fucking Cleese.
I provided you with a device called a steering wheel, 007. Perhaps you should try to find it.
And Richard Kiel even reprises his role as the silent hitman Jaws. Not only do the recurring characters have great actors voicing them, but the new notable characters in this game do too. You have William Dafoe playing Dafoe, Nikolai Diavolo.
Beautiful, aren't they? First, we take over Russia, then we unleash our little nanobots on the world.
Heidi Klum, as the obligatory evil Bondwoman number 369. Shannon Elizabeth as obligatory not evil Bondwoman. Fucking John Arnold Taylor.
Anything is possible.
Playing as my favourite character of all time. Guy that appears for 5 seconds and gets killed instantly.
James, you must get to New Orleans. Stop Diavolo before he...
This is why the high ground is important. We should probably talk about the game itself. And before we can do that, since my PS2 seemed to have gone missing, we got to emulate that shit. Oh yeah, I can't wait to play my fucking favourite childhood game. For fuck's sake! So after a feasible Brexit deal has finally been secured, and the alien overlords have stopped committing genocide upon our planet, I have finally convinced Bond to stop taking LSD and we can actually see what the game is like. When you load up the game for the very first time, you're greeted with a bunch of company logos before being brought straight into the tutorial. Think you're going to the main menu so you can sort your settings out? Nah, fuck you, cunt! The tutorial starts off with the classical gun barrel sequence found in all Bond films, with Bond stepping into view and shooting you directly in the face, which I assume would be quite terrifying in VR. After being systematically executed by the main protagonist, your spirit gets dragged away to this place, where you're forced to witness a generic villain trade deal where money is exchanged for a nuclear device. How original.
100 million as we agreed. You have the device? Of course.
Well, what have we here?
Bond gets bored, stuff happens, and then the tutorial finally begins.
It's a trap! Kill them!
Unlike previous Bond games that played in first-person view, Everything or Nothing is a third-person shooter, which when I first played when I was younger was a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one, as it was my first third-person shooter and it was rather exciting to try something new. The actual tutorial is short and snappy, straight to the point. unlike many other games. You just get behind cover, aim at some stupid cunt not paying any attention in the middle of a battlefield, then you blast him in the chest. You literally cannot do anything else until you shoot him. Once you viciously murder this well-trained enemy, you're asked to step away from the wall, but the game no longer forces you to follow the tutorial at this point. So I didn't. Eventually the game gets fed up with you ignoring its demands, and allows you to progress through the level where you grab the nuclear device. And before you ask, no, it doesn't have anything to do with the plot, because nukes are too boring. When you grab the device, M tells you to find a rocket launcher as soon as Deus Ex Machina appears to save the day. You get the launcher, you blow a plane up rather easily, and then you pull off a Joseph Joestar. As you can tell by the tutorial, this game opts in for a rather primitive lock-on system. On your first kill, the lock-on system doesn't seem too bad, but that's only because the enemy is standing there as though he walked into a room and forgot what you walked in there for. After dispatching the first enemy, you gain the ability to sort of aim your reticule to target different areas of the enemy. It's the closest thing to free aiming you'll get in this game, as trying to fire without locking onto an enemy first makes Bond act as though he's been possessed by a freshly cooked strand of spaghetti. This feels so natural! I actually enjoy this feature as it helps to add a little more challenge to the game. It's especially satisfying when you line your sights up to an enemy's face when they're behind cover. However, I'd still prefer if the game was completely free aim with the option for aim assist for those who cannot live without it. Also, I highly suggest using a controller for this because trying to play this game with a mouse and keyboard is akin to trying to pilot a plane without any prior training. Once you've finished the tutorial, you're taken to the level select screen where you have to do the Yeah, I kind of lied about the tutorial being short. The tutorial is actually split into two different levels, this one being a simulation that feels a lot longer to sit through even though it's probably shorter than the previous level. This level features a lot less combat and is generally just extremely fucking boring, but it shows you how the rest of the game's mechanics work, such as how to repel, how to give people minor concussions, how to shoot floating boxes, and most importantly of all, how stupid this specific AI is. It honestly makes sense for this tutorial to be a simulation, because I'm sure Bond wouldn't appreciate having real bullets shot at him when he's trying to figure out how to be an arachnophobe's worst nightmare. Knowing this shit is useful, as later in the game these gadgets, and various others you'll unlock further in the game, will all help you complete your missions in different ways. Now this is where the spoilers begin, so if you want to play this ancient game yourself, skip to whatever time appears on screen now. This is a warning. After you finally finish the tutorial, the next level opens up with your mission briefing, where M asks you to see Senator Armstrong's vast collection of
nanomachines, son!
Of course, Bond gets all cocky, deciding it would be a brilliant time to commit terrorism, almost fucking killing himself. Twice. You quickly gain control of this crazy bastard as you venture your way down the exploding building, kill some people, go further down the building, kill more people, and then you finally get to the bottom of the building, entering an extremely badly planned out room where if the glass you're standing on breaks, you have a high chance of fucking falling to your death. How lovely. This brings you to one of my most favourite levels of this game, where you have to chase a fucking train. The level begins with the camera being coincidentally placed at the location of Bond's car, so that you do not get lost in this fucking maze of an environment. Going through many difficult obstacles that stand in the way, you finally reach the car and get inside, where the emulator randomly decides that half the controls don't work, making you struggle to figure out why the fuck your weapons don't work. For a solid 10 fucking minutes you can blow this fucking goddamn door up until you do absolutely nothing different and it suddenly decides it wants to work. Oh my fucking god, I want to die! The driving controls are alright. Nothing to write home about, you just drive, shoot stuff sometimes, chase a train. It's an okay level in general. That's until you decide to turn right instead of left. Then holy shit, this level becomes so much more fun. I can't control this bike for fucking shit and I fell off it so many times. But you do feel powerful when you use it. The OST on this level is also one of my favourite out of the whole game. Finishing the level brings you to the next one where you're inside the train. Upon starting the level, you'll notice your health and weapons from the previous 2 levels get transferred to this one, so turning into Rathalos's worst nightmare isn't such a good idea.
I hate helicopters!
Your health and items transfer until the end of the chapter where everything resets. If you die, it also resets, leaving you with just a very basics but also full health. But fear not, for there is Wrench. Wrench is your friend. Wrench hurts people. Wrench is OP. Wrench will help you reach the end of the train, where you will meet up with an old friend.
I don't suppose we could just talk about this.
Just ignore Moonraker's ending for this one, okay?
Jaws? We can't disengage. The docking release system is jammed. Can you help us?
He's clearly just got a job as a train instructor and wants to have a friendly sparring session with Bond. For those who aren't familiar with the Bond franchise, this is Jaws, a recurring villain, so if you can't tell, this is a boss battle. And for some reason you lose all your weapons. Jaws has a great dental plan. Jaws likes pillars, however Jaws doesn't like the electricity that comes out of the pillars when he rips them out. Punch Jaws and he will decide to walk into the electricity. Use the electricity to defeat Jaws. Sometimes Jaws will pick you up like the puny man James Bond is and throw you across the room. If you are struggling with Jaws, just pull off one of these. Well, that was shocking. When you defeat him, you save a woman and she proceeds to ask you a very important question.
Can we catch him? Can you fly this?
What the fuck? The answer's no. No, I can't. This level expects you to fly a helicopter, and it's a lot harder than I remember it being. I died a few times, and the General has the audacity to call me a good pilot. Oh my god. No! No, I'm not! Are you fucking genetically modified or something? I don't even know how I got this fucking far. You pilot your way through ancient temples and say hi to Daddy Anubis, where you exit and the General lands on this thing. You destroy 3 shield generators, which is so fucking easy, but I managed to destroy 2 of them in one cutscene, and then you just hit him with a bunch of bombs. The level ends with a cutscene where Bond drops generic damsel in distress off at her house, where she is revealed to be Mr. Bad Guy's girlfriend.
Good morning, darling. I deduced the mission was successful.
Diavolo whines about how Bond killed his teacher Max Zorin, main villain of A View to Kill.
Courtesy of MI6 and James Bond.
Bond. James Bond.
You know him?
He killed Max Zorin. My mentor, my teacher, my friend.
I didn't know. I'm sorry.
How ironic. Bond has now planted the seeds for his own destruction. Soon enough, the world will know and fear the name Nikolai Diavolo.
You'll have everything you desire.
Yes, Katya. Everything. Or nothing.
And then the credits roll. End of game, everybody. The next level is just cutscenes to give you more story-related bullshit, one of a few levels to do so. The cutscene starts off with Bond meeting M and finding out that 003 has gone missing when he was investigating William Dafoe.
We've lost contact with 003. He was in Peru investigating Nikolai Diavolo, a KGB agent so ruthless that the KGB itself tried to have him terminated.
Apparently the KGB doesn't like Mr. Dafoe, and Bond finds out what we already knew from the previous cutscene.
Diavolo's control, his teacher, was Max Zorin.
Yes, we once played bridge together. He lost.
Bond arrives in Peru where he engages in an optional stealth mission. Yes, a stealth mission. In a car. You reach the location of a girl named Serena St. Germain who was helping 003, and she tells you where she last saw him.
I'm James Bond. You were working with a friend of mine.
Jack? So that was you on the phone.
Do you know where he is?
He went off to investigate some platinum I discovered, near a fortress outside of town. That's the last I saw of him.
She gets into the car with you and you're no longer allowed to sneak, and you can actually kill the police now because they're evil. Geez, never would have guessed with these tanks lying around everywhere. Bond makes it to Diavolo's mines and sneaks inside. 003 gets fucking shot because Bond is the worst fucking spy ever and he sucks at saving his allies.
You've come on a fool's errand, 003. Sometimes I think MI6 assigns your numbers based on your IQ. A friend of yours?
You'll have to do better than that. It's bulletproof.
Enjoy a slow but inevitable death, 003.
Then Evil Girl throws Not Evil Girl out of a helicopter, making a fucking punish she does.
I think she's fallen for you, James.
As you go through the most fucking bullshit level of the game, because it just decides if you win or not. So if RNGesus hates you, get fucked. I'm right up close to her now. I should be able to fucking catch her, but this game's like, no, you gotta wait until the last fucking second where you do absolutely nothing fucking differently. And... oh my god! Bond escapes Peru in an on-the-rails tank sequence, gets shit from Q again, then goes to New Orleans where he commits theft, breaking and entering, vandalism, and terrorism. All because MI6 is guessing that Diavolo is using the stolen nanobots for something evil. It's the Russians, it always has to be something evil with them. After Bond's little crime spree, he comes across Diavolo's true plan, making all of the shit he did okay. Apparently.
Good morning, Katya. Our goal is within sight. Out of these microscopic machines, a giant empire will grow. Building on your research, we've improved the nanobots, altering their makeup with fungal spores found only here in the Louisiana Bayou, turning what was conceived as a blessing into a curse. Anything they penetrate will be instantly destroyed from within.
We've got a larger problem on our hands than we thought.
Agreed.
Nanobots that destroy metal.
Diavolo is doing this because it's funny, I guess? James goes further into the base where he becomes trapped, so he does what he is best at, destroying private property. This causes Diavolo's henchman, Yayakov, to suffer a crushing defeat. Jaws has a new job as a tanker driver now. Good for him. Unfortunately, Bond doesn't like the idea of tall people doing honest work, so he puts many innocent lives in danger in an attempt to drown him.
I have a sinking feeling that won't be the last I'll see of him.
James goes back to Peru where he gets captured by Katia. When he wakes up, Diavolo repeats every other villain's mistake of telling him the plan instead of just fucking killing him.
In 12 hours I will be in Moscow, where my nanobots will destroy the Kremlin. And after I take over Russia, Europe will follow.
I've seen that movie, Diavolo. It always ends badly.
My platinum army is unstoppable, Mr. Bond. My nanotech weapons destroy all metal they touch. And it appears the only weapon you have left is sarcasm.
After telling Bond exactly where he plans to attack, he then just lets a drill very slowly come closer to Bond, who for some reason wasn't fully checked properly. Or better yet, just stripped down naked to be completely sure that he doesn't have a 50p coin to disable the drill. Bond heads to Russia where Diavolo is laying siege upon Moscow, planning to poison everyone because he realised how fucking stupid his nanomachine plot is. James defeats terrorism by causing more terrorism, and heads underground where Jaws is now a Yeah, I can't think of a funny job relating to flamethrowers. After countering his roast, you go on to an epic battle to defeat Diavolo once and for all. Well, after he tells you about his backup plan anyway.
Mr. Bond, what an unpleasant surprise. You're just in time for the final countdown.
Those missiles have been deactivated, Diablo. The nuclear warheads were removed years ago.
That's quite correct, 007. Except that I replaced them with nanotech payloads, which will do the job just the same. Start the launch sequence.
Of course, after you foil it, you have to go against his backup plan, where you can finally kill the fucker! Your final battle with Diavolo is the hardest thing I've ever experienced in a video game. You have to utilise all your gadgets, all your weapons. Every technique you have learned in the game will be key deciding factors of your survival, as you have to defeat waves of enemies with very little cover. You have to make sure you're fully prepared for this fight, or you will die very quickly. Once you're ready, walk through this gate, and brace yourself.
This is where you die.
Well, that was a blast. Of course, on higher difficulties it's a little more challenging. After your clearly intense battle, Bond has one last task: destroy the missile. Bond saves the world, kisses the girl, and the credits roll, thus concluding the story.
What happened?
They fell for each other.
And, what about us? Oh, James. What was that for?
Call it a hint of bigger things to come.
I enjoyed the story. It was quite the quirky one, something I'd expect from the Bond movies, especially those of the Brosnan era. It certainly feels like it could have been an actual movie, and in fact I wouldn't be surprised if it was originally planned to be one. The voice acting for the most part is pretty good, and the soundtrack is equally as good as the rest of the game, with the title song performed by Maya Harrison, who also plays as a CIA agent in the game, named Maya Starling. The title song is catchy as fuck and fits well as a Bond opening. The rest of the soundtrack, composed by Sean Callery and Jeff Timoshuk, is also great, fitting the action perfectly. Previous Bond games had pretty good OSE, but excluding GoldenEye, none of it was as memorable as Everything or Nothing. And as for the gameplay, I really enjoyed it. The cover system, for a game this old anyway, works pretty well. The AI is also pretty smart compared to other games I've played during the PS2 era. They constantly get behind cover and rarely run out into the open unless their position gets compromised. And if you're staying behind cover for too long, they'll even toss grenades at you. The lock-on system can be a little frustrating at times and can feel a little clunky at first, but it doesn't take too long to get used to how it works. I personally didn't have much of a problem with it except when it refused to lock onto enemies that are clearly in the open. The lock-on also bugs out a little bit when enemies are above or below you, and only locks on when you're in extremely certain positions, which can fuck you up completely on harder difficulties if you haven't figured out the sweet spot yet. The controls are alright, at least when you're emulating with custom button inputs. Again, you're welcome to try and play the game with mouse and keyboard, but I really didn't feel comfortable playing the game like that, even though it's how I play any other game ever. I really do recommend playing it with a controller if you just have one lying around. I don't know how it plays on other consoles since I've only played it on the PS2, but if you're playing with the true controls, it's really weird, because for some reason a lot of PS2 games have their aim and shoot buttons set on the bumpers instead of the triggers, but at the time that just felt natural because that's just how it was back then. The rest of the default controls work perfectly well for me though. The game also keeps the gameplay fresh by switching out the types of gameplay it has to offer. There are levels where you're navigating on foot, others where you have to chase an enemy in a vehicle, and there's even free falling. Finally, there's also a 4th stealth level. Stealth in this game can be quite difficult, as most of the time if you fail to kill an enemy instantly, you instantly fail the mission. If they get too suspicious, they'll sound the alarm. Hell, the guards in this level are so panicky that they'll shoot spiders on sight and set off the alarms.
Is that a spider?
Yes, it is. What? I mean, to be fair, it's a reasonable response. The game allows you to complete different levels in different ways through utilising the gadgets you're given during the mission. For example, you can use the repel gadget to get up to different areas or to get to places much quicker, and you can use the Q spider to open up secret rooms or to track enemy movements. There are more gadgets than this, of course. There are 3 difficulty levels. Operative, which makes the game extremely casual because there's plenty of armor lying around, which acts as this game's health packs. Boss battles are super easy on this difficulty, but the rest of the game can be fun in its own right if you want to run into enemy gunfire and beat the shit out of your enemies. The agent difficulty is your basic medium difficulty. It's still pretty easy, but you shouldn't just run out into enemy gunfire. There's also more objectives that you have to complete in order to finish the level. The final difficulty is 00 Agent. It has the same amount of objectives as the Agent difficulty, and armor is a lot more difficult to find. Enemies are a lot more punishing, so running out of cover should be completely avoided if you can help it. I haven't played the whole game in 00 Agent before, so I guess I could make some sort of playthrough of this difficulty because people find it funny when I suffer. To further the replayability of this game, you can unlock cheats from earning platinum medals. You earn these medals by playing the game on 00 Agent difficulty and completing specific challenges, such as finishing a level under a certain amount of time or completing the mission without firing a single weapon. The cheats aren't as interesting as the ones in GoldenEye, and after unlocking certain cheats, other ones become completely useless. Some cheats include unlimited ammo, double damage, and unlimited battery. Most of the cheats are just shittier ammo or battery cheats like max and double ammo. My 2 favourite cheats however are the golden and platinum guns. The golden gun is a staple of the Bond franchise, especially the game since it's in almost every single game as a one-shot weapon. Every shot you fire instantly kills the target. The platinum gun is even more fun. It's basically just a golden gun, but the bullets explode. Explosions are fun. This game doesn't have an infinite health cheat code though, so you can't just run around screaming, "I have the power of God!" which is sad because that's my most fucking favourite thing to do and I've finished a game hundreds of times. Finally, if you can find someone willing to be in the same room as you, Everything or Nothing features multiplayer. There are 2 types of multiplayer in this game. A 2-player co-op campaign and a 4-player deathmatch thing. The campaign is just as fun as the main game, acting as a prelude to the main game's story. Hell, the final levels even take place during one of the main game's earlier levels. As you progress through the co-op campaign, you can unlock a new game mode where you can have up to 4 players. This game mode is called Arena, and it's basically just a shitty isometric camera angled deathmatch arena. The camera on this mode is fucking shit. The game mode itself is boring as fuck and it's genuinely not worth unlocking. I mean, it could probably be a fun game mode if you're drunk off your head with 3 of your friends, but if you want more of a fun Bond arena experience, play Agent Under Fire, Nightfire, or of course the original GoldenEye. As I just mentioned, playing through the co-op campaign will earn multiplayer only unlocks. These unlocks are completely fucking pointless as most of them are just simply more arena maps and arena character skins. You can unlock only 2 characters from the main game to play as in the co-op mode, and that is literally it. Overall, I just really love this game. It's mind-blowing that EA used to give a shit about the games they made. They had the official actors of that Bond era, a fun and I'd say unique story, but taking over the world is rather fucking cliched at this point. But at least the method is unique. The gameplay itself is fun, the soundtrack is great, the graphics are fucking amazing for a PS2 era game, and it is a pretty fun co-op experience. The only real issue I have with the game is the lock-on system, but I just hate lock-on systems in general. But as I stated before, the game does allow you to move the reticule around, creating a weird ass hybrid of lock-on and free aim. If you're a fan of James Bond, or just enjoy old third-person shooters, I would recommend this game, but that's probably just because I'm really fucking biased towards the games I grew up with, which is exactly why I'm not calling this a review. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Everything or Nothing. I just really wanted to talk about one of my favourite childhood games. I might make another video or two similar to this one, talking about other games I enjoyed as a small spawnlet. And I'll probably upload a video or two of me actually playing this game for real if I find out how to stop being lazy. I digress. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. If you didn't, it's okay to click the dislike button. Okay, bye.